If your partner makes $50,000 a year, there is a very good chance they are actually working for just one single dollar an hour. I know, it sounds crazy, but here is the shocking math that we really aren't supposed to talk about. Okay, so picture a couple. Honestly, they probably sound a lot like you or maybe someone you know. She works in marketing, he's in IT, and they are just out there grinding every single day, doing absolutely everything the modern economy tells them to do. Together, they're earning a combined $133,000 a year. Now, mathematically speaking, this firmly puts them in the top 25% of American households. They did everything right, you know? They got the degrees, the solid careers, the nice house, and the decent school district. On paper, they should be absolutely crushing it. They should be maxing out the retirement accounts, taking nice vacations, but instead, they are completely exhausted. They've got maybe 2 months of expenses saved up, and when their car needed a transmission repair last month, well, it went straight onto a high-interest credit card. Despite this six-figure income, they are literally living paycheck to paycheck. So this brings us to the crucial question we're tackling in today's explainer. Why exactly does this high income leave them feeling so incredibly financially fragile? If you've ever looked at your own combined household income and thought to yourself, wait, we make way too much money to feel this broke, listen, you are absolutely not alone. And as we're about to see, this is not a personal finance failure. It is a systemic trap. Section 1. The $50,000 illusion. Let's set up a very realistic baseline here. Imagine one partner makes a base salary of $70,000, and the second partner goes to work to bring in an additional $50,000. That's a combined $120,000. Those gross numbers look absolutely incredible on a tax return, right? But I want you to follow the journey of that specific $50,000 second income with me, dollar by dollar. Here is the progressive subtraction that nobody ever warns you about. First up, taxes. Because we have progressive tax brackets, that second $50,000 gets stacked right on top of the first earner's income. So after state, federal, and payroll taxes eat up about 30 to 35%, you immediately lose around $18,000. Boom, we're down to 32 grand. Next is childcare. The average cost of daycare for just one child is $15,000. So now that 50 grand is only worth 17. But wait, you have to actually get to work, right? 2 commuters means extra gas, extra maintenance, and likely a second car payment. That's another $8,000 hit. Now we're down to $9,000. And finally, we have what we call exhaustion expenses. When 2 parents are out there working 10-hour days, you're ordering DoorDash for the 4th time this week, or maybe you're paying for a house cleaner because you're just too tired. Studies show this easily eats up another $7,000. Look at that bottom line. $2,000. That is the staggering reality here. The actual net financial contribution of working that entire exhausting second full-time job for a full year can realistically be as low as $2,000. And actually scratch that, it could even be negative if you have multiple children in daycare. Just really think about that for a second. One partner is missing family dinners, they're grinding through rush hour traffic, spending 40 hours a week away from their home, all to net the household $8 a work day. That is roughly $1 an hour. That $120,000 gross income, it's a complete illusion. Families are out here making massive, life-altering lifestyle decisions based on a gross number, when the net reality is vastly, vastly different. Section 2. The two-income trap. Look, if you find yourself in this situation, I need you to hear this. It is not because you are bad with money. You are caught in a very real phenomenon known as the two-income trap. This term was actually coined back in 2003 by Elizabeth Warren when she was a bankruptcy law professor. She studied over 2,000 families who were filing for bankruptcy, and what she found literally flipped conventional wisdom completely on its head. She discovered that working twice as hard and bringing home 2 paychecks actually made families more vulnerable to bankruptcy than single-income families. Crazy, right? Section 3. Burning the backup plan. To really understand why making more money somehow equals less security today, we have to look at the contrast over time. Back in 1970, the typical middle-class family had one primary earner. They spent about 25% of their income on housing, which gave them actual financial breathing room. But crucially, they had a built-in backup plan. If the primary earner lost their job, the stay-at-home parent could jump into the workforce to save the day. Fast forward to 2023. We have essentially taken that emergency backup plan and activated it just to operate as our daily default mode. Both incomes are now 100% committed, leaving absolutely zero margin for error. Now you might hear people say, well, median household incomes have grown since 1970. And yes, on paper, they have. But we have to look at where that money actually went. Even adjusted for inflation, housing costs have doubled. Healthcare spending per household has shot up over 600%. College is up a mind-blowing 1,200%, and childcare now averages over $11,000 per child. So while wages kind of just crept up over the decades, the non-negotiable fixed costs violently exploded, and they absorbed absolutely every single dollar of that second income. So the absolutely crucial point here is that dual-income families today are operating at max capacity with no reserves. It's like a car running with no oil in the engine. Everything works fine until it doesn't, and then the whole thing seizes up at once. Families size their entire lifestyle to that gross $120,000 combined income. Sure, the bank says you can afford that massive mortgage, but that's only if both incomes keep flowing perfectly, without interruption, forever. If someone gets sick, or honestly just burns out, the family can't even maintain their baseline fixed costs. They are quite literally just one transmission repair away from total financial disaster. Section 4. The Middle Class Bidding War. Now, you might naturally be wondering, why did fixed costs like housing explode so aggressively in the first place? Well, ironically enough, adding that second income to the middle class actually backfired on our overall purchasing power. Think about it. In the single-income era, families competed for housing based on just one salary. But when two-income families became the norm, suddenly they wielded double the purchasing power for the exact same limited supply of houses. When everyone has twice as much money to bid with, prices just skyrocket. Basically, having two incomes went from being a huge advantage to becoming the absolute mandatory baseline just to afford what one income used to buy. And nowhere is this bidding war clearer than when we look at education. Because public schools in the U.S. are heavily funded by local property taxes, the well-funded, good schools are located in expensive neighborhoods. Parents got desperate and used their double purchasing power to bid up property prices in those specific coveted districts. So they essentially turned what should be a manageable $200,000 mortgage into a $400,000 mortgage just to buy the price of admission. You might not be paying private school tuition, but you are absolutely paying the tuition equivalent directly into your bloated mortgage. Section 5. The One Income Foundation. Okay, so what do we actually do about this? How do we get out? Well, the solution isn't necessarily for one partner to just march into the office and quit their job tomorrow. What it really requires is a massive shift in mindset. The standard approach society pushes is treating both incomes as permanent and building all your fixed costs around that combined number. But the new mindset, the escape route, is what we call the One Income Foundation. You absolutely must structure your fixed, non-negotiable monthly expenses so they can be comfortably covered by one income alone. Yes, it definitely requires short-term sacrifice, and you'll have to resist a ton of social pressure. But doing this makes that second income entirely discretionary. And folks, this is where the magic happens. When your fixed costs are handled entirely by partner A, partner B's income, even after we account for the taxes and the childcare, becomes your ultimate wealth-building engine. Because it's discretionary, you can deploy it aggressively. You can build a massive emergency fund. You can max out those retirement accounts. You can rapidly pay off your debt. If you do this, within 5 to 10 years, compounding interest takes over. You go from just treading water to buying back the absolute ultimate luxury in life, optionality. I love this quote because it really hits the nail on the head. You can earn your way out of a lot of problems, but you can't earn your way out of a trap you don't even know you're in. The families who truly thrive aren't necessarily the ones pulling in the highest gross incomes. They are the ones who deliberately preserve their flexibility. Our grandparents had the ability to absorb a financial shock, right? To have one partner step back for a health crisis without the whole house of cards collapsing. We traded that incredible resilience for bigger houses and the mere appearance of prosperity. But cash flow isn't real security if every single dollar is already spoken for before it even hits your bank account. Which brings us to our final and admittedly pretty uncomfortable question for you to chew on. I want you to look really closely at your own household math. Is your second income truly advancing your family's long-term wealth and security? Or once you honestly factor in the progressive taxes, the daycare, the commute, and the sheer burnout, are you just paying for the privilege of going to work? It's time to do the math, completely rethink your foundation, and reclaim your financial flexibility. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and remember, keep questioning the numbers.